Hi, my name is Antonis and I'm the iconographer in this video. Today I want to show you how I paint the clothes of Saint Marina in this case, and these clothes are painted in a way that is slightly different and unusual. We sometimes refer to this type of clothes as negative lighting clothes. It's usually the clothes where the proplasmos, the base color, is a bright, warm color, and the photismata, the lights that we will place on top of these clothes, are a more cool, more cold, let's say, color. In this case, I'm using the a color that is very bright orangey, let's say, and on the top you will see me painting with a gray bluish color. So I hope you are well. It's time that I haven't posted anything here, but now I'm back, and I'm glad to share with you some of these tips and techniques. So as you see here, I have already transferred my drawing on my board. I have placed my gold leaves on the background. I have done some painting, uh, underpainting on the face, and now I will proceed with painting these clothes, as I said. The the orange we often see in icons, saints figures with these orangey clothes, and they are very hard to accomplish. In my opinion, this bright orange clothing is very difficult to achieve. I've seen old icons in person, and I truly admire the way the old iconographers paint these orangey colors. And here, in order to achieve this brightness, I will use some orange color from my palette, along with a little bit of cadmium yellow and cadmium red as well, in order to achieve this brightness. On my palette, of course, I'm using egg tempera to dissolve my pigments, and here I am trying to find the right consistency of the pigment in order to achieve some kind of transparency on the areas where I will paint. So after I have achieved this consistency on my palette, I will start applying with a soft brush my color, my proplasmos, this orangey color that you see here. Now I am ready to proceed with painting the γραψίματα, the shadows on and the folds of the cloth on the icon. This is, I believe, the most crucial step in painting an icon. We have to be thorough in this step, and as you see here, the γραψίματα that I'm using, the color for the γραψίματα, for the folds that I'm using, is a slightly darker color than the proplasmos. In order to achieve this color on my palette, I will add on the previously prepared color of the proplasmos, I will add a little bit of cadmium red, or just a little bit of iron oxide red, just something to darken the color in value. But as you see, you can hardly see any difference. This is something important in this case, because I don't want the γραψίματα to be very dark and very distinctive. This way allows me to really observe excuse me, to really observe the folds as I'm painting them. I don't follow any specific old icon as my reference. I just use my experience here, and I try to imagine at this point how these folds will be placed on the body of the cloth, on the proplasmos of Saint Marina, and try to imagine how I will place these folds on the proplasmos. So by having a color that is not very dark, I can correct and I can play a little bit without worrying about the brush strokes being too clumsy or too visible. The way to approach icon painting is, and you will understand this the more experienced you become, you will understand that the way is to be more painterly, to really try and find your own solutions in terms of the folds, how a shape or form should be in iconography. Otherwise, we will always do copies of old icons or studies of old icons. But this is not the way that the master iconographers used to paint. They would learn, I believe, the basics, some techniques and the basic steps of iconography, and then they use those to find their own language, let's say. This doesn't mean that they moved too far away from the principles of the Byzantine painting, but we see icons and that we can identify the iconographer of each icon. That means that that iconographer had his own or her own style of painting. So here you see that already I've done a lot of work. It's not very, it's a little bit discreet, as you see. The grapsimata are not much distinctive to the proplasmos, and that is fine, that is great. Most of the work in iconography, and this is very important for you to understand, is by the end of the grapsimata step, let's say. Now, after that, I will start by painting my first light. For this, I'm using a color that is grayish and a little bit darker than my proplasmos. And as you see, this color is very thin. It is darker, it is more gray, let's say, more cool color. And this is very unexpected for this type of painting. Usually we go brighter for the first light, but here I use this almost transparent, cold, darker color to paint the first light. This will create the effect of the negative color, as we say it, and it creates a sense of fabric on her cloth that is very special. It is illuminated by some strange, unexpected light here. So my preoccupation at this point is to blend this first light, and that's why it is very thin in its consistency, to blend it nicely to the proplasmos. And since they are so different, this light from the proplasmos, it's a cold, darker color. I want to place it, but at the same time to have some nice smooth transition between this first light and the bright orangey color of the proplasmos. Check how transparent this color is. At the same time, it has some body, it has some coverage. And let me just say, for this color on my palette, I've used some black, a little bit of blue, and maybe I will also add just a little bit of my proplasmos in this. In general, I aim for a darker, colder color. Now here I'm trying to find the shapes of the first light. I try again to imagine which areas on the proplasmos, on which areas I will place these shapes of light, and how I will allow some folds, some γραψίματα lines to be seen underneath. These shapes are geometrical generally, but at the same time, on this first light, I want to do some basic blending towards the proplasmos, as I said earlier, and that's why I often use even on my palette. I often use even thinner colors of the first light. I hope this makes sense to you, but I don't want to be very specific here on the while I'm placing the first light in terms of the geometric forms of these shapes. I just place these, and as you see, gradually I will go even darker, especially in the areas where they will accept a lighter light in a little bit. You see already at this point how I could even stop at this point and consider these clothes finished. They are really beautiful and strange and magnificent. Here you see me doing some further blending by mixing this first light to the color of proplasmos on my palette, and then placing this in between color on areas that I think need to be a more smooth transition. The darker color that you see in some areas is a color that is more dense. It's the same color but a little bit denser, and that's why it is darker on the arms and some folds. And you see how by placing this darker color I allow the folds, the orangey folds, to be seen, and this creates this negative light beautiful cloth. Truly, as I am voicing this video now, I consider that I could have stopped here and the icon would look very nice. Now after this I will reinforce a little bit the γραψίματα. I will go back to the γραψίματα step, and with a darker warm color again at this point I will underline the γραψίματα, and I will thus create a better sense of volume and what's happening on the clothes. See, I want you to understand that, and it's very evident here, that in iconography, unlike how many teachers teach it, is not just step A, step B, step 3 or things like that, but it's a process where the iconographer keeps his or her eyes open, and we always wonder, okay, what can I paint now? Should I go back 2 steps? Am I ready to proceed, etc. It's a painting process. It's not just a blindly step 1, step 2, step 3. It's very important, and this is something that comes with maturity as artists, and you will understand this. Of course, the students of iconography ask for some very strict guidelines, but the more experienced you become as an iconographer, the more you will understand what I'm talking about. And that is what differentiates the average iconographer from a master iconographer. So here I'm doing a second light, and on my palette I will create a color that is slightly brighter in value and more cold, more bluish in this case. So I use a color on my palette that I've mixed some titanium white, a little bit of blue, a little bit of black to bring down its saturation. I want this to be gray bluish color, and I find that on my palette this color, it has some variation. Sometimes it becomes more whitish. You see how it is placed as I paint it. Here I am slightly more specific in terms of the shapes of light that I am painting. Notice that the underneath layer of light, shape of light, is a little bit more vague in terms of its shape. Now, the brighter I go, the more specific I get in terms of its shape. See how the forms of light engulf the folds that I've underneath painted. And notice how already by placing this bluish color, in this case, how it already gives the cloth some nice, beautiful quality. Now this has to be very discreet. This second light doesn't need to be all over the place. It is just an insinuation, I believe this is the word, or an indication of the light and the forms and how the cloth receives the light. This color, in its consistency, it's a thin color generally, but remember that on your palette you really have to search for different consistencies. Like sometimes the same color, if it's thicker, it will give us a different result, of course. If it's thinner, it will give us another result. The important is to keep in mind that when painting an icon, or when you just paint, this is an active process that requires us to be focused on the process. I often hear students and iconographers say how what a fantastic time they have in the studio. They forget themselves. Yes, I understand this is painting is it's an amazing process, but it has to be active. It requires our presence when we paint. We have to constantly wonder what we paint, what is the shape that we add, why we paint something. I don't just paint and think of my shopping list or other stuff. When I paint, need to be there, active, and trying to understand and decode in the language of iconography the forms of the natural world, and to thus create an icon that is of artistic and painting value. It's very, very important. To me, it's an icon that just follows the steps and blindly copies an icon. It's fine, it's okay, I understand. I've done this for many years, and I often do this as an exercise, even now, after so many years of painting icons. But I realized that the true masters of iconography, as I said earlier, functioned in another way. This is the message of today's video here. Really do your studies and copy the old masters, but at the same time be an active observant of the process as you do it, and try to really take some initiation, let's say, in terms of in terms of icon painting. Now this requires experience. It's not something that it's easy to be done. So I would say the message here is to really start appreciating probably less icons that are strictly copies of other icons, and truly try to appreciate icons that work, that are nicely painted, and they are somehow original. Here in the icon of Saint Marina, I wanted to paint Saint Marina in a way that is unique. Saint Marina in many icons is depicted hitting the devil with a hammer or something like that. She has defeated the devil, and I often see her in her type of painting to be simply by just holding a cross and nothing else. So here I've decided to paint her holding a hammer, a weapon to symbolize how she defeated the devil, and on the same hand she will hold a holy cross, of course, and on the other hand, as she is doing the gesture of refusing to obey idolatry, the idols, and to become a martyr for Christ. At the same time, she is holding with her index finger and her thumb a dead body of the devil. The devil in Byzantine iconography is depicted almost as an ant, black, very small, as a stickman almost. And this is what she is holding between her index finger and her thumb, the dead body of Satan that she has defeated with the hammer, which is the symbol of her persistence and her love for Christ. So as you see, little by little, I will go all over these shapes of light with this second light, and as I see, I don't overdo it. I want to be very discreet on how big these shapes of light are. And hopefully this kind of lightning works, and it does reveal the volume, and it does reveal the strange way of these clothes receive and reflect the light.
Hi, I'm Antonis, and I'm proud to present you my online course in iconography, Paint an Icon with Me. This course will help you become a better iconographer, and it will help you be more confident when talking and presenting your artwork. It will make you understand in depth the studio practices of a professional iconographer like me, and you will get accustomed to what great iconography looks like. So learn in a simple and organized way everything you need about the materials, mediums, and techniques in order to make a beautiful icon. Paint with me the icon of Christ and learn how to paint better any icon you wish. I will see you at the studio.
I will actively observe these shapes again, and I will see if I need to make some shapes thicker, bigger, or smaller, etc. Now I hope you find this video interesting. Of course, you can find more on my Patreon account, and I want to really thank you so much for your support there. It's something that helps me so much function as an iconography teacher and as a full-time artist in my studio. So really thank you much for your support there. Thank you so much for your beautiful comments and presence here in this channel, and I do hope that these videos will inspire you to try iconography yourselves and to explore and to feel all the blessings and the joy of painting an icon, truly. So again, thank you all so much. I will be glad to receive comments of how this video helped you with the clothes and the way to handle the paint and the pigments in iconography. And I do hope to see you again soon with another video. Stay healthy and creative. I will see you soon. Bye.